Hi, I'm Garbreak1, and this is Midgardia's Cool Crowdfunding Show. I'm here today with Spencer Campbell again. How's it going?
It's going very well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Congratulations on being the first person to be here 3 times, by the way.
That's right, third time. So I'm the first one.
Yes, sir.
Wow, how very exciting! Very exciting.
So we're here today to talk about the combo Kickstarter for Light and Frames. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I am running a duo Kickstarter coming up in the kind of estimated date right now for launch is mid to late March. So we're in February right now. So few weeks out. It's a duo campaign. So I'm doing it for two games at the same time, Light and Frame. And Light's a familiar game to folks who might have followed my stuff before. It's my love letter to the Destiny video game that I released kind of near the tail end of 2020. And now it's adding on Frame, which is, as the name sort of implies, my love letter to Warframe. Obviously, the two games share a lot of DNA and style and things like that. And so I decided to make a game based off of Warframe because I absolutely love it.
Me too, man. I have spent so many hours playing well, both Warframe and Destiny, but mostly Warframe.
Yeah, it's good. Like I once I was introduced to it, that was a rabbit hole that was really hard for me to crawl out of. And for me, like it's in waves. Like I'll go super deep into Warframe for a little while, then I'll take a break, and then I'll come back, and there's a bunch of stuff for me to do. So I like being able to go through that cycle like that.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we do as well. About every 2 years, we'll have like a 3 month, period where all we do is play Warframe.
Hmm.
Oh man, I still need to grind for the Railjack stuff.
Yeah, that was so. I mean, I tend to mostly play solo, so that's just like way too much work for me to do on my own. So that's a part of the game that I've just kind of written off. Like, I just won't experience that part. But I'm okay with it because there's more than enough stuff to do otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Frame the game?
So Frame is a game that not only do the inspiring games Destiny and Warframe share a lot of similar features, but Frame shares the mechanical DNA of my other game, Light. So they're both based off of this pretty rules light system of rolling pools of six-sided dice. And in Frame, you are these sort of biomechanical guardians of the solar system called frames, and you are going out on missions to try and defend the system against kind of threats from beyond the system, and then also the corrupting influences that have kind of grown up in the time since you've been on active duty. And so it's sort of the cycle of play of go out, do missions, come back, see how things are evolving, and then go back and do your job again and again and again, kind of like you do in Warframe.
Yeah, go in, blow up a ship, go back, blow up a ship, go back, blow up the same ship.
And that really is what I want it to feel like, is that sort of frenetic, fast combat. That's a big thing that I wanted to try and highlight and capture with Frame, is that in Warframe, you are just like, you're running into rooms, wiping out all the enemies in seconds before they have a chance to do things. And then, if they do start to respond, they might do like a little damage and then you wipe them out. And so like that's what I tried to capture with Frame. And that's kind of the big deviation, the biggest deviation between Light and Frame, is that Light, it's important for you to like plan out when you're going to be like going into fights and stuff like that, because you only have so much of your light resource. In Frame, I've built it so that you're just constantly being fed health and energy, so you are just going in there and just wiping things out. And so it's meant to be a real power trip.
That sounds excellent. And like the better parts of my Warframe experience, honestly, you do the weird like dolphin jumping into a room, mash, I don't know, 2 or 3.
Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to capture. And by using the kind of the rules light system that I have done with Light, you don't have to manage a whole bunch of resources. There's not a lot of like min maxing, which I know is really important if you're like into Warframe. It is about like all the mods and your loadout is very important. In this, it's meant to be as streamlined as possible to give you sort of the the taste of the Warframe experience or that looter shooter action paced experience without needing to do all of the bookkeeping.
Look, the optimization was not mandatory until they introduced the friggin' Eidolons.
Yeah, yeah. And like I get it. I'm super into that stuff, but I'm not into that stuff when I'm playing a role like a tabletop role playing game. Like if I'm going to sit there at my PC, like I'll get super into it. Into like figuring out all the ideal loadout for every single mission I go on. But for this I wanted you to just hit the ground running and just feel badass right away.
For sure. So, that's Frame. So what's Light's deal?
So Light is my love letter to Destiny, and so in it you play these immortal guardians of the essentially the last city on Earth. And it was released at the tail end of last year as this real rules light small game. Like the core rules themselves could be printed front and back on a single sheet of paper, and then it was sort of supported with this modular thing where you could plug in more rules into the game depending on how complex you wanted to make it. So if you really wanted just the core experience, you just needed one sheet of paper. And then you could add in these rules that added factions and then add in these rules that gave you like customizable guns and things like that. And so that's been really fun coming up with modules and things like that to support light. And so what this Kickstarter is going to be doing is going to be combining all of that stuff, all that material that's been put out to before, updating it and kind of really weaving it together into like a cohesive, complete package, as opposed to sort of this um, separated modular approach sort of thing. It's meant to be a more sort of complete and revised, upgraded version of the game. But I think the single biggest selling point for Light is that it's getting a proper layout done this time. I have a fantastic graphic designer, Jam. She is doing the layout for both Frame and Light. I've been sharing some of the spreads in the Discord and on Twitter, and she's doing both of them, and it's really cool to see two very different styles contrasted against one another. You got the kind of like almost like soft and curvy space magic of Destiny, and then like the hard, gritty, sharp lines of Warframe against each other. And so Jam is doing such an awesome job. So she's going to be making this game really look fantastic.
So is all the content from the Light season pass, Spark, rolled into the this version of Light then?
Yes, that's the plan, is to kind of combine all of the stuff into a singular package that you have all in one nice printed zine. And then with the Kickstarter, then the goal is, if you've got the Light stuff from before and you're good with it, you don't need like the new layout or anything like that. You can just back the Frame stuff in the Kickstarter. You don't have to get both of them. Or if you really only like Warframe, if you really only like Destiny, you can just go back at that level. But there's also tiers that let you get both games at the same time. So I really want people to be able to decide which games they're interested in, which ones they want to support. So yeah, if folks have bought Light in the past and have the season pass and they're like, you know what, I'm good. I've got the Light stuff. I can work with what I've got. Then then they're good on the Kickstarter. They can just go get Frame and they don't have to like double buy the game or anything like that.
Yeah, although if you wanted a really fancy book, here's your chance.
Right. That's the selling point, in my opinion, is that I did the I did the layout and graphic design of the first stuff, and it's very simplistic because that's not my jam. But Jam, that is what she's really good at, and so she's gonna make the book look really nice.
To be fair, the layout in Light is pretty good. I have seen some terrible things. I have seen some things that I think are crimes in the indie RPG scene for layout. Light is not that.
Well, I appreciate that. I obviously borrowed heavily from the 2400, 2400,
Mm.
2400, whatever Jason actually calls the game, which I've forgotten like the actual nomenclature for it, but he released the SRD, which gave like a great layout for anybody who wanted to make stuff for 24XX. And so I was like, well, I'm making a modular game. It's not the same system, but I love this layout, and so I use that SRD. So that's Jason's bones in Light, essentially.
God, I need to play. a bunch of those so bad. There are so many cool ones from the jams and stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Um,
really cool stuff out there.
yeah, so many good games, man.
It's impossible to keep up.
It's a tragedy. So, why one Kickstarter?
Why go to Kickstarter for this? For money to pay folks essentially. Is I want to pay Jam and Will and a whole bunch of other people who are involved in this in terms of art and layout. And like Will Yopes is doing the editing, and these are all really talented people that I want to not only pay like the fair rate, but like with Kickstarter, I can pay them a good rate instead. And so I need the Kickstarter funds in order to pull that off. And in terms of Kickstarter helping out with paying for that sort of stuff, I've sort of made the executive decision that there's not going to be stretch goals that I think people usually think of in terms of more content. The stretch goals are purely there to give pay raises and bonuses to the team, which is a thing that I've seen other games do, and I'm happy that the industry is doing that. That it's putting together initiatives that are going to help pay artists and contributors to games more, and so there will be stretch goals in the game, but they're there to pay the team more, to give the artists and the graphic designers and the editors and everybody else more. And so that's why I'm going to Kickstarter, because I think these folks are working really hard on this, and this is the best way to get them good compensation for it.
That's completely reasonable, and I'm glad to hear that there's no absurd stretch goals. We've talked a few times on this program about how overly ambitious stretch goals have been the death of many a project.
Yeah, I mean, I've felt it in the past. I went really excited with Slayers and added a hardcover book right away, and I I suffered the consequences of it, but I'm glad I did. The book is nice, but I think that's a big thing that folks do, is that they feel like they need to put out more stretch goals to like incentivize people to keep backing the game besides just the game on its own, standing on its own. And so for me, I just want folks to see like, hey, if you keep backing this, not only are you going to get a cool game, but you see how cool it looks. Those people who did that are going to get paid more now with your support.
Yeah, people look at stuff like the Zombicide Kickstarters and they're like, oh man, they have a lot of stretch goals and they made $8 billion. It must be because of those stretch goals. No,
Right.
wrong.
Right.
Also, speaking of the Slayers hardcover, I quite like it.
I see it back there. Yeah. I appreciate that. Very nice.
Um, it's a very nice book. Someday we'll actually run it on stream, hopefully.
That would be cool. That would be cool.
So many games.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I've been desperately trying to get one of my regular groups kind of back on track. We're all scattered across the country, and so it's hard with not only time zones but schedules. But I think we've got something coming up soon. And I think I get to play Frame next week. It's not settled in yet, but I'm working with a few different streams to get a chance to play the game online. So I'm really excited about that, to be able to like play my game with other people, because I got to do that with Light. I think it was last month, and that was super, super fun. So I hope to be able to do it with Frame really soon.
Hopefully, yeah. And I mean, if you're interested in running a session for us, you are welcome to. Uh,
Sure.
but all right.
That was easy.
In the near future. So why like a combo Kickstarter kind of thing?
So originally I was planning on it just being for Frame. So Frame was going to just be its own Kickstarter, and I was really excited about that. And at the same time, the Light stuff was going on, like the Spark Season Pass is running. It's still ongoing. There's still 2 more modules that I've got to release. I've got the next one mostly designed. It's got to just go from a Google Doc into actual layout. And then, so the Light stuff was going on, and I realized that as much as I liked this modular approach that I was taking with Light, it didn't feel cohesive. I like the ability for people to customize it, and that's cool if that's the approach that you want to take. But I was starting to lose like a sense of what Light was actually supposed to be and feel like by releasing it in these small bites. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to take a chance at combining them all together again. And I could have just like rewritten the things and kind of woven them together using my same layout that I had done before. but I had at this point already gotten Jam to agree to do Frame and seen the sample spread that she had done for it, and I was like, wow, Jam's really good at this. Wouldn't it be cool to have her do Light as well and make a cohesive book out of it? And that what that was going to allow me to do is it was going to allow me to rewrite and update the rules and rewrite the way that I wrote them in the first place, because they were written very terse. They're supposed to be like really small columns of text. So this was going to allow me to sort of expand on things, make the game clearer. After the few times I've played it, it mostly works, but there's always some questions. And so this is just a chance to update it. And so I figured, since the two games share a lot of mechanical DNA, they're not the same game, but they share enough that it kind of works that they would run as a duo campaign rather than trying to do like a back-to-back campaign sort of thing.
Yeah, I can't imagine you doing 2 campaigns in quick succession.
Well, yeah, so the other thing is like the Slayer's Almanac is coming up too, because I'm in the process of starting to pick the prompts for that. And so I know that Kickstarter is somewhere on the horizon. And so it becomes, I was like, there's no way I'm going to do 3 in like the span of 3 months. I can't do that. I can't do that to myself. So I figured, let's combine these. And I think they both stand strong enough on their own that together as a Kickstarter, it should be okay. It is the first, it's the biggest like funding goal that I've set for a Kickstarter, and that's because it's 2 games at the same time. So there is that like that fear of going like, this is much more than I asked for in previous things, and that's a little worrying, but it should be okay. I think it's going to be okay.
I think it will. I'm looking forward to it. So what's the price point for, like, if I want, both books and both PDFs?
So the price point so if you back at either the like physical printed tiers, you automatically get the PDF. So if you get the combo of both books, it's going to be, at least right now I have it priced at $30. $30 gets you both zines. So you get both zines, both Frame and Light, physical copies, and then also the PDF copies of them as well. The other thing that I'm writing alongside this is it's going to be a really small supplement that's a sort of compatibility guide, so that because the games share enough DNA, you might want to like bring your a little bit of Destiny into your Warframe experience, or a little Warframe into your Destiny experience. So I'm going to write a short supplement that gives advice on how you could port things from one game to the other. And so if folks do end up getting both games, they might find that compatibility guide useful, because it just adds more now variety to the way that you can play the game. And that's the advantage of writing 2 games that share a lot of DNA like that, is that they can then be compatible like that. So I'm excited about that. I still got to figure that one out, because there's a few hurdles to jump over, but I think I mostly understand how that's going to work.
Right. So how much does it cost to get both books?
Oh, sorry, did I not say that?
No.
30 all that rambling. $30. $30 is the price to get both books. I can't believe I didn't actually answer the question in all that rambling. 30 will get you both books and the PDFs with them as well. Nailed it.
Nice. That's not bad for, 30 American dollars for 2 RPGs is pretty good.
I think so. I think that's pretty good, especially given the quality of the art and layout that's going into it. And this is the first time that I will have written games that have an actual editor on it. Will Yobst is going to be doing the editing. They just ran their Kickstarter for Torque. And so Will is not only a fantastic designer, but they are professional editors. So I'm excited to for somebody to actually make my words sound good instead of me just writing them on my own.
Torque looks cool, man.
Torque looks very, very cool. Cannot wait for that. Are
you going to do Kickstarter exclusive covers for either of these?
No, probably not. Just because I just want it to work. Like I have this like fear. I think this happens to everybody right before you run a Kickstarter. Is that like that demon in the back of your brain that's going like, "There's no way this is gonna work. There's no way this is gonna work." And so for me, just learning from my previous experiences on Kickstarter, I want to make this as sort of streamlined and stress-free as an experience as possible by just being like, here's what you're gonna get, here's how much it costs. Let's all pool together so that I can actually pay these people to make this happen, and then we'll have a cool thing at the end of the day. Um, and I know that that's just going to do me a solid rather than me trying to play around with exciting alternative colors or like foiled art or anything like that.
Absolutely. If I get my copy, I'm printing out the like Game of the Year label from the old PS2 games and putting that on my copy of Light, just so you know.
That's a good idea to call it something like that, like
The Year One
the
edition, or like it's not
yeah.
definitive yet, I wouldn't say, but
No, I like that though. Putting some sort of fun sticker on it. I like that idea.
well, you know where to find me if you want to send me free stickers.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. All right, let me go print those up real quick.
um, yeah. So this isn't your only project, which brings us back to good Lord Spencer. You make so many things. So, why don't you tell us about your YouTube series while you're here?
Yeah, I occasionally update my YouTube channel with videos. I'm a sort of sporadic video maker. I have a series, I have kind of two ongoing series that I do on my channel. One are my design commentaries where I scroll through one of my games and I talk about the just off the top of my head the process of what it was like to design that game. You get a little bit of insight in sort of the history or inspirations of mechanics, why things are written the certain ways, and the ups and downs of designing that game. So I think that's always nice because uh, it's we rarely get to hear the designer's thought process on why they made things a certain way in games. So I like just talking about that stuff. My bigger series is my Psych of RPGs series, which is so I'm a psychologist by my day job is a I'm a cognitive psychologist. I teach psychology at a university, and so I've taken my background in psychology and I wanted to apply it to role playing games. And so what I've done is I've done a series where I either pick a game and I pick like an aspect of psychology that's interesting about it and I kind of talk about those two things together. Or one thing that I've been doing recently is I've been picking games, talking about the psychology in them, and then I've been had the opportunity to interview a number of folks, the designers behind those games, to talk to them about the theories that I cover in my videos and what they think, and if I'm on, if I'm on the right track, if they were thinking about any of the things that I was thinking about. It's just an opportunity for me to combine some of my actual job with the design stuff. In fact, tomorrow I'm going to be teaching my actual class at the university, my psychology of role playing game class this weekend, which I'm super excited about. So that YouTube series is sort of a way for me to get the high of teaching that class kind of sporadically throughout the year as I do these short little things. They're like 10-15 minutes usually, something like that, except for the game ones. Those are deeper dives.
and and they're cool. Like it's a very, I don't want to say unique, but like a very very it's good. I don't
Thank
have
you. I
words.
appreciate that. It's I think one thing too when I say psych of RPGs is folks have a sense of what it might be about, and it's probably not about that because I'm a cognitive psychologist, which means I study things like information processing, language, decision making, creativity, problem solving. I'm not a therapist. So I think when a lot of people think of psychology and RPGs, they think about using role playing in therapy, which is like a really cool avenue, but it's also something that it's not my area of expertise. So if you are going into it expecting a lot of talk about um, that, I'm afraid I won't be covering that, but I will be talking about cognitive psych stuff and social psych stuff and developmental and personality and things like that. And I think it's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. Just don't expect, a rundown of cognitive behavioral therapy from these videos.
Correct. That is not my area of expertise, and I don't want to even touch that because there are other folks who can speak on a much better authority on that.
Absolutely. Yeah. You have anything else you want to bring up while you're here?
I think that's with the big things. Like, so yeah, as of when we're doing this, the pre-launch page for Light and Frame is up right now on Kickstarter. If you follow me on Twitter or join the Gila RPGs Discord, you'll see that I post a lot of the work in progress art, either in layout, or there was some character art that I got my hands on the other day. So if you want to keep up with the project, hitting that notify button is awesome, but also just kind of following me will help you a lot with seeing what is going on with those. Um, and I've got the Slayers Almanac, but I'll come back and talk to you about the Slayers Almanac when that has a clearer shape. It's fuzzy right now. But I'm excited about that. More Slayers. I can't stop coming back to Slayers because I have so much fun making stuff for it.
I mean, that's fair. Slayers is super cool.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Uh, yeah, so we'll see you in like 2 weeks, I assume.
Yeah, probably. Like, knowing me, I have horrible impulse control, so, I'll probably launch the Kickstarter tomorrow without any actual preparation, and then you'll hear from me in 2 weeks about the almanac being ready to go. So,
Yeah, if
just
you
keep your calendar open. I'll be knocking on your door real soon.
yeah, if you hang out in the Gila RPGs Discord, you'll get to see Spencer being like, "All right, today I'm taking a break, not doing anything, no work at all. I made an entire new game." It's like once a week.
Yeah, that's very true. I feel very seen right now.
All right, Spencer. It's been great having you on again.
It's been great being here. Thank you so much for letting me come on for the third time. That's awesome. I can't believe you tolerate me that much. That's great.
I more than tolerate you. I like you, Spencer.
I appreciate that.
And for those of you watching at home, there's a link in the description. Go there, click the notify me button. If it's not up yet, if it's up, give Spencer money. I guess
That'd be
Spencer's over
cool.
there now because I flipped my camera. He's over there. Yeah, well, I never know what weighs what. Anytime I
Yeah.
gesture at something in the back, I use the wrong hand every time.
I just gesture like this. It'll work.
And for those of you watching at home, have a good night.